First contact. The light from the monitor cast a blue glow across Lucy Bennett's face as she stared at the readings. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago. Forgotten as the strange signals coming from beyond Neptune's orbit demanded her complete attention. "That can't be right," she muttered, running the calculations again. The energy signatures were massive, unlike anything NASA had ever recorded before. Lucy pushed her glasses up and reached for the phone. Within an hour, the observatory was filled with her colleagues, all crowded around her station, their faces a mixture of excitement and fear. "We need to contact the International Space Defense Force immediately," said her supervisor. Captain John Hayes was reviewing routine patrol reports when the call came through. At first, he thought it was a joke or a training exercise, but as the data streamed in, the cold reality settled in his stomach like a stone. "How many?" he asked, his voice steady despite the adrenaline now pumping through his veins. "We count at least 50 major vessels, sir. And they're moving in formation. Definitely not natural objects." Hayes looked out the viewport of the orbital station. Earth hung below, peaceful and blue, unaware of what was approaching. "Alert all commands. Implement First Contact Protocol Alpha. And get me the President." Across the globe, military bases hummed with sudden activity. Pilots scrambled to fighters, soldiers were called back from leave, and submarines silently changed course to predetermined positions. President Alicia Martinez was in the middle of a budget meeting when her aide whispered in her ear. The color drained from her face as she excused herself. Within minutes, she was in the Situation Room, surrounded by grim-faced advisors. "What do we know about their intentions?" she asked. General Frank Peters shook his head. "Nothing yet, Madam President. They haven't responded to our broadcasts." At that moment, every screen in the room flickered. The image of a being appeared, humanoid but clearly alien, with purple-tinged skin and eyes that seemed too large. When it spoke, its words were perfectly translated. "People of Earth, I am Vorthal, advanced scout of the Xelmar Empire. Your world has been chosen for integration into our domain. You will surrender your resources and accept your place as servants of the Empire. Resistance is not advised." The broadcast wasn't just in the Situation Room. Every television, radio, phone, and computer across the planet received the same message. Panic erupted in cities worldwide. Traffic jammed highways as people fled urban centers. Stores were emptied of supplies within hours. In the small town of Riverdale, schoolteacher Max Burton tried to keep his fifth-grade class calm as parents arrived in a rush to collect their children. The sky outside his classroom window seemed normal, but nothing would be normal again. Near the International Space Station, Lieutenant Susan Miller watched in horror as an alien scout ship appeared seemingly out of nowhere. It was elegant and deadly, like a predatory fish, with strange lights pulsing along its hull. "All stations, maintain positions," came Hayes' voice over the comm. "Do not engage unless fired upon. I repeat, do not engage." President Martinez called an emergency United Nations meeting. For the first time in history, representatives from all nations gathered without argument or delay. "We face an unprecedented threat," she told them, her voice firm despite her fear. "We must stand united or we will surely fall divided." As she spoke, scientists around the world analyzed the alien transmission, military leaders planned desperate strategies, and ordinary people huddled with loved ones, watching the skies. Dr. Laura Phillips, head of planetary defense, reviewed what little data they had on the alien vessels. "Their technology is centuries beyond ours," she told her team at the Pentagon. "But every system has weaknesses. We just need to find them." On the alien command ship, Vorthal observed Earth with cold calculation. His species had conquered hundreds of worlds before. This backward planet would be no different. But as reports of Earth's military mobilization reached him, something unexpected stirred in him: respect. Most species surrendered immediately. These humans were preparing to fight. Hayes stared at the tactical display, showing the overwhelming alien force approaching Earth. The odds were impossible, but surrender wasn't an option. All ships, battle stations, he ordered. Humanity stands alone today, but we will stand. Ambassador Eric Daniels straightened his tie as the transport shuttle approached the neutral meeting point in Earth's orbit. The massive Xelnar vessel dwarfed their small craft like a whale beside a minnow. His palms were sweaty, but his expression remained calm. The weight of humanity's future rested on his shoulders. "Approaching docking point," announced the pilot. "Ambassador, are you ready?" Daniels nodded. "As ready as anyone can be to meet aliens who want to enslave our planet." The shuttle connected with a soft thud. Daniels and his small team of advisors walked through the airlock into a chamber unlike anything they had seen before. The walls seemed to pulse with energy, and the air carried a faint scent of ozone. 3 Xelnar representatives waited for them. The aliens stood nearly 7 feet tall, their skin a mottled purple-gray. Their 4 eyes tracked the humans' every movement. "I am Ambassador Eric Daniels, representing the United Earth Alliance," he said, voice steady despite his racing heart. The central Xelnar stepped forward. "I am War Commander Zexvul. You waste our time with this meeting. The Xelnar Empire does not negotiate with primitive species." "We may be less advanced technologically," Daniels replied, "but we are not primitive. We seek peaceful coexistence." Zexvul made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peace. We have conquered 326 civilizations. Many were far more advanced than yours. All now serve the Empire." Back on Earth, scientists and military experts watched the exchange through Daniels' hidden camera. Dr. William Foster, head of weapons research, noticed something unusual about the Xelnar ship design shown on the screens behind the aliens. "Look at those power conduits," he whispered to his colleague. "They're channeling massive energy through those junction points with minimal shielding." In the meeting chamber, Daniels was shown images of worlds that had resisted, now barren wastelands. "This can be avoided," said Zexvul. "Your species has potential as laborers. Your planet has resources we require. Surrender, and many will survive to serve." "And if we refuse?" Daniels asked. "You have 48 hours to formally surrender. After that, we begin planetary pacification." As the human delegation returned to Earth, Kate Reynolds watched the news broadcast from her small apartment. The former Special Forces soldier felt a familiar tension in her muscles. Before the broadcast ended, her phone buzzed with a message from old military contacts. "Network forming. Need your skills. Location follows." President Martinez addressed the United Nations again. "The Xelnar demand our complete surrender. They expect us to give up our freedom without a fight." Murmurs filled the chamber until she raised her hand. "I have informed them that Earth will not surrender. We will stand against this threat together." The chamber erupted in applause and shouts of approval. In underground laboratories, Dr. Foster led teams working around the clock. "Their ships channel energy differently than ours," he explained to military officials. "If we can target these junction points, we might be able to disrupt their systems." General Peters looked skeptical. "Can we adapt our weapons in time?" "We have to," Foster replied. On the Xelnar command ship, Zexvul reported to Emperor Khazul. "The humans refuse to surrender, my Emperor." The Emperor's multiple eyes narrowed. "Interesting. Most species beg for mercy at this point. They are preparing their defenses, though they cannot hope to match our technology." "Perhaps these humans will provide some amusement before they fall," the Emperor said. "Proceed with the plan, but bring me specimens for study. I wish to understand what gives these primitives such confidence." As night fell across Earth, Kate Reynolds met with other veterans in an abandoned warehouse. "The conventional military will engage them directly," she told the group. "Our job is unconventional warfare. Hit and run. Sabotage, intelligence gathering." One man looked doubtful. "Against aliens? What can we possibly do?" Reynolds smiled grimly. "We do what humans have always done when facing a stronger enemy. We get creative. Lieutenant Sam Garcia felt his fighter shake as he pushed it beyond its designed limits. Above Earth's atmosphere, his squadron faced 3 Excelnar scout ships that had ventured too close to the International Space Station. "Eagle Squadron, stay in formation," he ordered through his comms. "Remember the weak points Dr. Foster identified." The alien vessels moved with incredible speed, their purple energy weapons slicing through 2 human fighters in seconds. Garcia gritted his teeth and executed a maneuver that would have been impossible before the emergency upgrades. "Focus fire on the junction points," he shouted as his squadron aligned their attack. Against all odds, their concentrated fire struck the vulnerable energy conduit on the lead alien ship. The vessel erupted in a blinding flash of blue light. "We got one," shouted his wingman. The remaining Selnar ships retreated, clearly surprised by the effectiveness of Earth's primitive weapons. Back at Mission Control, cheers erupted. It was humanity's first victory, small but significant. General Peters immediately called the president. It worked. Foster's modifications actually worked. On that Selnar command ship, Emperor Kizul received the news with narrowed eyes. "Humans destroyed one of our vessels." "Impossible." "The reports are confirmed, my Emperor," said his advisor. "They somehow identify the power junction vulnerability." Kizul rose from his command chair. "These humans are more resourceful than anticipated. I will oversee this conquest personally." Deep beneath MIT's campus, Dr. Nathan Chen worked through his 3rd straight day without sleep. His eyes burned as he stared at lines of code scrolling across multiple screens. "I think I've got it," he said suddenly, causing his team of programmers to gather around. "Their communication encryption is based on quantum principles, but there's a pattern." Chen's fingers flew across the keyboard. "If we apply this algorithm." "Yes." Suddenly, alien communications began translating on their screens. "We can listen to their battle plans now," Chen said, a tired smile crossing his face. "Get this to military command immediately." Across the globe, former enemies became allies against the common threat. Russian submarines patrolled alongside American carriers. Chinese fighter jets trained with European squadrons. Borders became meaningless as humanity united. In the White House Situation Room, President Martinez met with the leaders of Russia and China via secure video link. "Our combined forces are still vastly outmatched," said the Russian president. Martinez nodded. "But they don't expect us to work together. That gives us one advantage." In cities worldwide, civilians moved into underground shelters. Schools became bunkers. Subway systems transformed into living quarters. Humanity prepared for a long fight. Kate Reynolds led her resistance team into an abandoned mining facility. "This will be our base of operations," she told the 30 men and women who had joined her cause. "From here, we can strike and disappear." A young computer expert named Paul Johnson approached her. "I've modified these tablets to communicate without using regular networks. The aliens won't be able to track them." Reynolds nodded approval. "Good work." Off the coast of Hawaii, oceanographer Maria Diaz made a discovery that would change everything. Her research submarine's sonar detected something massive beneath the ocean floor, something that wasn't natural. "There's a structure down there," she reported back to shore. "It's huge and definitely not made by human hands." Within hours, a joint military operation began excavating the site, using special drilling equipment to reach the mysterious object. Dr. Leo Alvarez was the first scientist to touch the artifact when it was finally exposed. "It's at least 50,000 years old," he estimated, running his instruments over the metallic surface covered in unknown symbols. "But it's still emitting energy." When he pressed his hand against a particular symbol, the entire structure hummed to life. Lights appeared across its surface, and a holographic display filled the chamber. "My God," Alvarez whispered as he stared at the star map that appeared. "We weren't the first advanced civilization on Earth." As the Selnar fleet moved into attack position, humanity prepared its defenses with newfound determination. They had been alone among the stars. but perhaps not as alone as they thought. The night sky lit up like day as the first wave of Selnar ships breached Earth's atmosphere. Their energy weapons carved glowing paths through clouds before striking military bases across the globe. The invasion had begun. In Colorado, the mountain that housed NORAD shuddered as alien weapons battered its defenses. Inside the command center, General Peters watched as reports flooded in from every continent. "They're hitting all major military installations simultaneously," an aide reported. "What about our modified defense systems?" Peters demanded. The tactical officer looked up with surprise. "Sir, they're working. Beijing reports their adapted missile batteries have taken down 3 enemy craft. Similar reports coming from Moscow and London. The aliens had expected easy targets. Instead, they found weapons specifically designed to target their vulnerabilities." On the lunar defense base, Commander Jill Warren watched the Earth battle through powerful telescopes. She saw Selnar reinforcements gathering in high orbit, preparing to join the fight. "They haven't noticed us yet," she told her crew of 200. "That gives us one chance." Warren activated the communication system. "General Peters, this is Lunar Base Alpha. We have a clear shot at their command vessel from behind." Peters understood immediately what she was suggesting. "Commander, if you engage, they'll target the base with everything they have." "We know, sir," Warren replied calmly. "But we can take out their command structure before they do." After a moment of silence, Peters said, "Godspeed, Commander." Warren ordered the activation of the base's main weapon, a mass driver cannon hastily modified with Dr. Foster's technology. The massive gun swiveled toward its target. "Fire," she ordered. The projectile, traveling at incredible speed, struck the Selnar command ship's vulnerable junction point. The resulting explosion temporarily blinded the lunar base's sensors. When they could see again, the command ship was breaking apart. But as expected, a dozen Selnar vessels turned toward the moon. "Evacuation pods ready," Warren announced calmly. "Launch all personnel except defense crew." "Mom," her second-in-command questioned. "Someone needs to buy time for the pods to reach Earth," she explained. "I'm staying." In the Atlantic Ocean, the combined naval fleets of Earth faced an overwhelming alien force. Commander Olivia Wright watched as 2 aircraft carriers burned. Her destroyer was one of the last ships still operational. "They're using a predictable attack pattern," she realized suddenly. "Helmsman, take us directly into their formation." "Ma'am, that's suicide," the helmsman protested. "No, it's mathematics," Wright replied. "They're maintaining exact distances between ships. If we disrupt that formation, they'll have to adjust or risk hitting each other." The destroyer surged forward, straight toward the alien vessels. As predicted, the Selnar ships broke formation to avoid collision, creating chaos in their previously ordered attack. "All Earth vessels, target the confused ships," Wright ordered over the fleet channel. Her maneuver resulted in the destruction of 7 alien craft for the loss of only 1 more human ship. In Arizona, a Selnar vessel had landed to establish a ground base. A small team of Special Forces soldiers led by Major Greg Foster crawled through the desert night toward it. "Remember, we need samples and information," Foster whispered. "No heroics." Using the cover of darkness, they breached the perimeter and entered the alien craft through a maintenance hatch identified by Dr. Chen's team. Inside, they collected technology samples and planted surveillance devices. As they prepared to leave, Private Joe Miller accidentally cut himself on an alien control panel. His blood dripped onto an air filtration system. Hours later, the soldiers watched from a distance as strange alarms sounded from the ship. Selnar soldiers stumbled out, clearly ill. Major Foster quickly reported the unexpected development to headquarters. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, a biologist, realized the significance immediately. "Their biology has no defense against Earth bacteria," she explained to the crisis team. "Miller's blood must have introduced common human microbes into their air supply." As the Emperor's personal flagship entered Earth orbit, Humanity had discovered an unexpected advantage. The invaders had superior technology, but Earth itself might be their greatest weapon. Commander Warren's sacrifice on the moon had bought Earth valuable time. Commander Wright's tactical brilliance had saved the Atlantic Fleet. And now, humanity had found a biological weakness in their seemingly invincible enemy. For the first time since the invasion began, there was hope. The emergency lights cast red shadows across the bunker as Ryan Jackson hunched over his keyboard. At 17, he was the youngest person in the underground facility, surrounded by military officers and scientists 3 times his age. "Are you sure this will work?" General Peters asked, looking over the teenager's shoulder. Ryan's fingers never stopped typing. "Their navigation systems connect to a central network. It's advanced, but it still follows logical rules. And where there's logic, there are loopholes." Dr. Nathan Chen nodded in agreement. Ryan's virus exploits a vulnerability in their quantum communication. It's brilliant. "How do we deliver it?" President Martinez asked. Ryan looked up, dark circles under his eyes. "We need to transmit it from multiple points around the globe simultaneously. Once it's in their system, it will spread like wildfire." Within hours, hidden transmitters activated worldwide. The virus, disguised as routine navigational data, infiltrated the Xelnar network. In Earth's orbit, alien ships suddenly lost coordination. Several collided, while others drifted off course. For 12 precious minutes, the Xelnar fleet was in chaos. Earth's remaining fighters and missiles struck during the confusion, destroying dozens of enemy vessels before the aliens could purge the virus. In a laboratory beneath Chicago, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez studied samples from the Arizona landing site. Her team had been working nonstop to understand Xelnar biology. "Their respiratory systems are incredibly sensitive," she explained to the crisis committee. "They process oxygen differently than we do." She pulled up a simulation on her screen. "If we can modify our atmosphere with these compounds, it would interfere with their life support systems without harming humans." "You're talking about weaponizing our atmosphere," said Admiral Jackson. "Can we do that?" "With the right delivery system, yes," Rodriguez replied. "Weather control stations could disperse these compounds globally." As plans for the atmospheric defense began, the ruins of Chicago above them erupted in warfare. Xelnar ground forces had landed in force, targeting the underground facility. Marine Sergeant Daniel Morrison led a group of 50 civilians through subway tunnels as explosions rocked the streets above. "Stay close and stay quiet," he instructed, helping an elderly woman over a fallen beam. "We're heading to the river bunkers." A scared young boy tugged at his sleeve. "Are they going to kill everyone?" Morrison knelt down. "No, they're not. You know why? Because they don't understand something important about humans. We never give up." A rumble from ahead made Morrison signal for silence. Alien voices echoed from a connecting tunnel. He motioned the civilians back and prepared his weapon. To his surprise, a single Xelnar soldier appeared, hands raised in what appeared to be a universal gesture of surrender. "Not shoot," the alien said in broken English. "Help you." Morrison kept his weapon ready. "Why would you help us?" "Many of us, conscripts, not choose this war." The alien touched a translator device on its neck. "I am Talmarch, my world also conquered. I bring information." Talmar's defection provided crucial intelligence about Xelnar fleet movements and ground tactics. The alien revealed that many Xelnar ships were running low on certain resources after the long journey to Earth. Meanwhile, President Martinez met with her military advisors in the hardened bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. "What's the status of our nuclear arsenal?" she asked grimly. "We have 167 warheads still secure and deployable," General Peters replied. "But using them risks massive civilian casualties wherever the Xelnar have ground forces." "We won't use them on Earth," Martinez said. "We'll use them in space, in a coordinated strike against their main fleet." She looked at the holographic display showing Earth surrounded by enemy ships. We need to time this perfectly with Dr. Rodriguez's atmospheric defense and hit them when they're most vulnerable. The plan was set. Earth would deploy its final, desperate countermeasures all at once: the nuclear strike in space, the atmospheric modification, and ground attacks led by resistance fighters with the help of defectors like Talmark. As preparations reached their final stage, the Emperor's flagship moved into low Earth orbit, its massive shadow passing over continents like an eclipse. The message was clear: surrender or face annihilation. Humanity answered with defiance. The countdown to Earth's final stand had begun. The space around Earth transformed into a battlefield unlike anything in human history. Every surviving spacecraft humanity possessed, fighters, shuttles, even repurposed satellites, engaged the Selnar fleet in a desperate bid for survival. Admiral Vincent Rogers watched from the bridge of Earth's last operational carrier as the battle unfolded. Deploy all fighters. Focus on the vessels targeting our ground-based magnetic generators. Scientists had discovered a way to weaponize Earth's magnetic field, creating disruptions that interfered with Selnar targeting systems. Massive generators on every continent now powered up simultaneously, creating an electromagnetic shield that gave human fighters precious seconds of advantage. "It's working," exclaimed his tactical officer. "Their weapons are losing lock." In the vacuum of space, human pilots pushed their craft beyond design limits. Their older, simpler technology proved surprisingly resilient against the electromagnetic chaos, while the aliens' advanced systems faltered. On the Emperor's flagship, Kazul raged at his commanders. "How are these primitives resisting? They should have fallen in hours." His science officer spoke hesitantly. "Emperor, these humans adapt faster than any species we've encountered, and they're using their planet itself as a weapon." Kazul's multiple eyes narrowed. "Then I will speak to them directly. Send a challenge to their leaders. Let them face me personally." The message reached Earth's command center, where President Martinez and her advisors watched in surprise. "He wants our surrender delivered in person," General Peters said. "It's a trap. Or an opportunity," countered Dr. Foster. "If we could get someone aboard that flagship." Captain Maya Wilson stepped forward. "I'll go." All eyes turned to the young naval officer. "My team has trained for space-boarding operations," she continued, "and I'm familiar with the schematics Talmar provided." Martinez studied her face. "You understand this is likely a one-way mission?" Wilson nodded. "Humanity needs this chance, Madam President." As Wilson's team prepared for their desperate mission, the global communication network began to fail. Zelnar forces had targeted key satellite clusters, severing connections between continents. "We're going dark," reported the communications officer at NORAD. "Regional commands will have to operate independently." In cities and towns across the planet, the resistance emerged from hiding. Kate Reynolds led her team through the streets of Boston, targeting Selnar ground patrols with weapons modified to exploit alien vulnerabilities. "Remember, aim for their breathing apparatus," she instructed as they prepared to ambush an alien squad. "And stay downwind. Their sense of smell is better than ours." Similar scenes played out globally as humanity refused to surrender their home without a fight. From the mountains of Peru to the steppes of Mongolia, people who had never held weapons before stood against the invaders. Beneath the Pacific Ocean, the ancient alien artifact continued to pulse with increasing energy. Dr. Leo Alvarez and his team had worked tirelessly to understand its purpose. "I think it's some kind of beacon," Alvarez explained to his colleagues as the structure's glow intensified. "Or maybe a weapon. The symbol suggests it was built by a civilization that called themselves the Precursors." A young researcher looked up from her translations. "According to this, the Precursors seeded many worlds with life, including Earth. They built this device as a failsafe." "A failsafe against what?" Alvarez asked. Before she could answer, the artifact released a pulse of energy that passed harmlessly through human bodies, but made their equipment temporarily malfunction. In orbit, Captain Wilson's transport approached the Emperor's flagship under the pretense of bringing Earth's formal surrender. Her heart pounded as the massive vessel grew larger in their viewport. "Remember," she told her team of 7, "our objective is to reach the command center and disable their main weapons. Any intelligence we can gather is secondary." The Selnar docking officer examined their credentials with suspicion, but eventually allowed the human vessel to dock. Armed guards escorted Wilson's team through corridors of alien design. The Emperor waited on his command deck, a massive chamber filled with holographic displays showing the battle raging around Earth. His purple-gray skin seemed to pulse with anger as the humans entered. "You come to surrender your world," he demanded. Captain Wilson stepped forward, her face betraying nothing of their true mission. "We come to understand your terms, Emperor Kazul." As she spoke, her team subtly assessed the command center, identifying key systems according to Talmar's intelligence. They would have only one chance to strike, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. Captain Maya Wilson maintained her composure as she stood before Emperor Kazul. His massive form towered over her, 4 eyes studying her with cold calculation. "Your species fights well," the Emperor said, "but your resistance ends today." Wilson noticed her team members quietly moving into position around the command center. Each had memorized their targets from Talmar's intelligence. "Before we discuss surrender terms," Wilson said, buying time, "I must know, why Earth? There are countless planets in the galaxy." The Emperor made a sound like grinding stones, a laugh. "Your species has potential. We've observed your rapid advancement. In mere centuries, you've progressed from primitive flight to space travel." He gestured to a display showing Earth. "Left unchecked, humanity would eventually challenge the Empire. We prefer to harvest promising species before they become threats." Wilson's hand moved imperceptibly toward the signal device in her pocket. So this invasion was driven by fear. The Emperor's eyes flashed with anger. "Caution, not fear. The Empire has stood for 10,000 years by eliminating competition before it arises. Now," Wilson shouted, activating the device. Her team sprang into action, attaching small devices to key control panels. The Selnar guards moved to stop them, but were too slow. Simultaneously across Earth, the modified atmosphere activated. Compounds specially designed by Dr. Rodriguez interfered with Selnar breathing systems. Alien ground troops began struggling for air, their advantage suddenly lost. In space, Earth's remaining nuclear arsenal launched in a coordinated strike. The warheads targeted the weak points in Selnar shields that Dr. Foster had identified. Brilliant flashes lit up Earth's orbit as alien vessels broke apart. The shields on the Emperor's flagship flickered as Wilson's team's devices disrupted their power system. "What have you done?" Kazul roared, reaching for Wilson. She dodged his grasp. "Shown you that humanity won't be conquered." The command center erupted in chaos as systems failed across the flagship. Wilson fought her way to the main communication array, her team providing covering fire. With a swift motion, she connected a device to the array. Ryan Jackson's final virus, designed to broadcast across all Selnar channels. Across the galaxy, on hundreds of conquered worlds, the Selnar communication network suddenly carried an unexpected message. Images of their fleet being defeated by a supposedly primitive species. On a mining colony 20 light-years from Earth, enslaved aliens watched in amazement as Selnar ships exploded on their information screens. Hope, long forgotten, began to stir. The ancient artifact beneath the Pacific Ocean released a final powerful pulse. The energy waves spread outward, passing through Earth and continuing into space. When it touched Selnar technology, systems failed completely. The precursors built it as protection, Dr. Alvarez realized, watching readings from the artifact. Earth was their homeworld, and they left this to guard their descendants. On the Emperor's flagship, Wilson and her 2 surviving team members fought their way toward an escape pod. The ship was breaking apart around them. "You've doomed your species," Kazul shouted as they retreated, his voice now broadcasting across all channels thanks to Jackson's virus. The Empire will send 1,000 more fleets. Wilson turned back. Then we'll defeat them too, and we won't be fighting alone anymore. As the flagship began to disintegrate, escape pods launched toward Earth. Wilson's pod was among them, carrying not just her team but also valuable sonar technology and data cores. Across Earth, alien ground forces retreated in disarray. Without orbital support and struggling to breathe Earth's modified atmosphere, they were no longer the unstoppable force they had been. In Washington, D.C., President Martinez addressed what remained of the United Nations via emergency broadcast. Today, humanity stood alone against an empire that has terrorized our galaxy for millennia, she said, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. And today, we showed the stars what humans can do when united against tyranny. 6 months later, Captain Wilson stood on the observation deck of Earth's first faster-than-light vessel, built using reverse-engineered sonar technology. The ship, named Defiance, would lead a fleet to contact other worlds that had suffered under the Empire. "Are we ready, Captain?" asked her first officer. Wilson nodded, looking at the crew of humans and former sonar conscripts like Talmar who had chosen to join humanity's cause. "The Terran Alliance's first mission begins now," she said. "It's time to show the galaxy that freedom is possible."